remember Tom called me and he said, I've always loved Mission Impossible. I'm a huge fan.
You know, as a kid, you think, oh, you know, it'd be just a lot of fun, you know, very good cast, an intriguing story.
Good morning, Mr. Phelps. The man you're looking at is Walter Townsend, one of our high-ranking intelligence officers, whom we recently discovered is a top enemy agent.
The original Mission Impossible series was a Cold War series, really. It was kind of fostered out of the Cold War.
What was fascinating about the show was that it was all about what kind of con game, what kind of misdirection are we going to create.
We just set up shop at Paramount Pictures, and Tom said, they have Mission Impossible, one of my most favorite things, let's do it. And I said, great idea, Tom, and we started developing the scripts.
I just thought it could be a lot of fun playing this guy. I mean, a guy who speaks many different languages, can assume many different identities, a character that uses his wits to get out of situations and force if it need be.
You don't want to lose what's attractive about the television material. On the other hand, you want to do something that's new and different.
The only character that appears both in the movie and in the TV series, which will be recognizable to all Mission Impossible fans, is Jim Phelps. But this is a great departure for Jim Phelps.
I would have to say that, you know, my Jim Phelps borrows something from the original, and then the new one takes its shape in the pieces, like the birth of a new team.
And boy, we thought, wouldn't this be great to have Jon Voight play Mr. Phelps? You wouldn't suspect him at all.
And I remember one sequence in particular that Tom and I worked on that I liked very much was that time when he starts to explain to Ethan Hunt what really happened.
I love this sequence. It's one of my favorites in Mission 1 because Jon Voight is sitting there thinking he's pulling one over on Tom or Ethan Hunt, when in fact, Ethan Hunt's figured the whole thing out and is pulling one over on Jon Voight.
It's a very efficient sequence where the hero realizes that his mentor and longtime friend that he's trusted more than anybody else has utterly turned.
When we were thinking, okay, we have this great idea, we know what we like about it, we like the characters, we like the team, and the twists and the turns and the surprises. We liked all that. And now we need a director to help us, you know, fulfill this.
You know, I was really excited when Brian said he wanted to direct this movie. You know, an opportunity to work with him and see what kind of movie he made with this was very exciting for me.
You're creating 20,000 things that they've got to overcome. And everything, of course, goes according to schedule until something, of course, goes south, and then everything goes wrong.
Brian had sequences that he designed, and he got what he wanted, and that was the important thing for us as producers. You know, and Brian came up with the story with us, and then we sat down with David Koepp, and then David Koepp went off to direct a movie, and then Bob Towne came in.
Fortunately, for me at least, and I guess ultimately for the film, what happened was that the first thing that they shot was the blue screen stuff on the train and everything else. And as that was going on, Tom and I, we would go over the scenes that were to be shot. And I would rewrite them in the middle of the night, and sometimes even between takes.
Robert has an extraordinary ability to see the layers of something, the complexity of something. He can always come up with that one line of dialogue that makes you wonder what is really going on. There are always many challenges when you make a movie. Obviously, the physical production was challenging.
You had a huge international canvas to set your pieces in action on. Gave you a chance to go to places like Prague and London and shoot interesting new locations.
And we were one of the first major American films to go to Prague in this new and show contemporary Prague, which is a beautiful, mysterious city.
The visual look is more or less dictated by the locations, and by choosing locations, you're already giving the movie a particular visual look.
I felt like a kid in a candy store, you know, with all the sequences that Brian designed, and it is I think Brian De Palma at his best.
The talent that went into the movie and the making of the movie and the way that things actually fit in the movie is pretty impressive.
One of the amazing things is that Tom actually does his own stunts.
He's good for us. He makes our job a lot easier because he's so enthusiastic about that work he does. He gives you 100% each time.
He was always very concerned with the performance within the stunt, and then he would go and do it himself.
Because the weight of the water, the framework around where he was going through was solid steel, so we had to be so precise in the way he went through that window. I think it was probably one of the most rehearsed jobs I ever done on a picture.
You know, he's sitting there waiting to get through this glass plate with this right above him, this, you know, tons of water that's going to come cascading down from above him and behind him. Enough to literally, you know, wash you into next week.
Well, they done a shot of him running away, water just rushing out after him with all the false lobsters and everything in Prague. So you got the outlook of Prague in the background, but looking at the restaurant was at Palma Studios.
So what happened is that they blew the tank out behind me first. So you hear 1, 2, then, and on 2, the tank behind me blew out, and then 3. So it took everything in my power to stay there for 3.
It was an epic thing, and Tom's timing had to be perfection.
I was nervous. Guy came up to me, you know. He said, "Look, you know, I'm going to count to 3." He said, "Don't go on 3.5." He said, "I'll be watching you, but I'm going to count to 3, and on 3, that's when I'm going to do it, okay?" And I said, "Hold it. 1, 2, 3, go, or 1, 2, go."
Some of the most riveting sequences in the film are actually part of that sequence, and it's not a question of blowing anything up. It's Brian De Palma's superb expertise at creating tension.
It's very difficult to hang straight out like that. It takes a tremendous amount of muscle control. Tom was able to do this and bring a kind of reality to it, and kind of will really sort of grab the audience as you see the terrific tension he's under.
To be honest with you, everything on that film, I think that was the hardest he worked on the film, was just doing that, because, you know, coming down all that way upside down, hanging there through the whole shot upside down and doing the turnover. And he worked so hard keeping the balance.
That was very difficult, actually, because you're hanging upside down for a long period of time. I don't know if you've ever done that, you know. It can make people nauseous. But the most difficult part of that, there was a point where I dropped down.
And it was all done by hand and weights. It just had 2 guys on there that, you know, feeding him up and feeding him down, just stopping him. We had all little marks on it, you know, so when we dropped, it had it tied off to a mark, so it dropped and it was there each time.
Now that looks effortless, but that was a really difficult stunt. And if you drop him too far down, that's not good, because he was coming fast down. If you drop him too high up, it's not as dangerous. So finding the perfect blend there is challenging, and that, I think, is one of the hardest stunts that Tom's done.
He doesn't go over the top with the stuff. He wants the action to suit the film. You know, I mean, that was great. Yeah, no, I was very pleased with it.